and Senior Vice President of the largest distributor of recorded classical music. Sean, welcome.
Good to see everyone.
Tell us about your first encounters with music.
In the summer of my 12th year, my mother said,
my generation, Sean's generation, grew up playing in rock bands and garage bands.
Now, because of this movement of decolonization.
Do you think that any classical musician today or in the future can make serious money on recording?
Very, very good question.
So after the coffee has been sun-dried for at least a week.
That's what I want to share with you guys.
Goodbye, and see you next Wednesday. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by UR Music and Arts and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please turn off your camera and microphone and/or go to the Facebook Live video feed, the link to which has been placed in the chat room. For a better experience, please turn off your microphone and set your video to gallery view. Tonight, our featured guest is Simone Kopmajer, an internationally acclaimed jazz singer and songwriter, and John DiMartino, a New York City-based composer, arranger, jazz pianist, producer, and educator. Also joining us tonight is Dr. Robert Greenberg, a composer, music historian, pianist, and since 1993, the #1 best-selling professor of courses made by the Teaching Company. Professor Lino Rivera of St. Mary's College of California joins us, as well as Professor Niels Moos, Director of the Opera Master's Program at the Music and Arts University of the City of Vienna. At the end of the show, Juan Carlos Echeverri will join us to further explore his family's coffee farm and the unmistakable qualities of Colombian coffee. Simone, welcome.
Nice being here. Good to see you.
So tell us a little bit about your first encounters with music. You're from Austria. What did you grow up listening to? Are your parents musicians? How did you get into music?
I grew up in a musical family. My father played trumpet, and my mother, she plays the saxophone. And my brother and I, we grew up with music all day long, singing, playing, and it was a great time to be together, to make music. It felt very natural. So this was so for me so natural to become a singer. That was my first wish and my goal. And today I can make a living of singing, and that's what I always was wishing for, and it feels good.
So what kind of music was it that you were playing? You said your father played trumpet?
He plays trumpet, and he also sings, and he loves Frank Sinatra, for example, and Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, and that were the first records I was listening to when I was a child. And he loves Herb Albert, for example, too. So he's open for every kind of music, and I think that was me growing up, hearing not just jazz and not just folk music. What my city is very popular for. So I grew up in a small village in Bad Aussee. This is in the middle of Austria, and and we had a lot of folk music there. But but what we were really listening to at home was jazz music and Ray Charles, singer-songwriters, and I'm very grateful for that, for all the records my father had.
So I was wondering, because when somebody thinks about Austria, especially the town you grew up in, which isn't that far from Salzburg, then we think about classical music, Mozart, Beethoven. But you're saying you were playing music at home, a lot of folk music, and also some swing music, jazz music, I understand. Were you playing classical music, or did that not play a role in your family?
No, I was trained classical piano. So I studied classical piano too, until I was 22 years old. I almost got finished with my master's degree in classical music, classical piano playing, but then I had to, yeah, to choose. Should I be a jazz singer or should I be a classical piano teacher? And at that time, Sheila Jordan was teaching in Graz, and when she left, when she got to the airport, I got to her home where she was living, and I asked her. I said, Sheila, what do you think? Could I make a living of singing? Could I make it as a jazz singer, or should I study and continue with the classical piano? And she said, no, you are not a pianist. You are a true jazz singer. And that was for me. That was a sentence that changed my life. So I stopped everything. I stopped my my classical thing at the university, and yeah, and then I went to New York. I met John, and yeah, and everything was great for me.
Good. So this sounds like a good time to talk to Dr. Bob about this whole jazz classical thing, because that's exactly how you were brought up. Is that right, Bob?
It's what happened to me in reverse. Yeah, I started with classical music. I got into jazz. I got competent. I had the opportunity to work with two wonderful saxophone players, Benny Carter and Lee Konitz. But that was a hard life. I was just 20 years old. I was taking the number 9 bus from Princeton to New York City 2-3 days a week, getting back home at 3 in the morning, going to class at 8 in the morning. It was too hard a life. And frankly, I was a naive little kid surrounded by adult jazz people. And that is an intense world. And we're talking about 1972, 1973 right now, when New York was still the mean streets. So just walking back and forth to the Port Authority convinced me, listen, I need the safety of academia. A little wimp like me from South Jersey has to hide somewhere. So I ended up staying in the academic side and play jazz as a hobby. But if a teacher had told me, if a special teacher had told me what Simone's teacher told her, you really should stick with the jazz because you got a future there, I probably would have, and my life would have turned out very differently. You know, it's amazing. Our teachers, if you're a musician, this is something other people don't know. We talk about our teachers as if they're our gods, and they are. They are our gods. They shape us. They form us. We depend on them with almost childlike need from a parent to help us grow up. And a musician's teacher, maybe you have one or two in your whole life, someone you trust completely. Other people don't have these kind of mentor experiences at formative ages, but I suppose athletes do. My coach. When your teacher says something like what Simone's teacher said to her, it carries such weight, such power, and it's said from the heart. You know, this is someone who knows you better than anybody, except perhaps your parents, and maybe even better than that. The power of a statement like that cannot ever be overstated. So if someone had said that to me, I'd probably be out there playing jazz somewhere, but no one did. And so I took my own path.
Okay. And I just wanted to check in with Professor Lino Rivera. Is that the same holds for you? What do you think about what Bob says?
Well, for me, I was trained as a classical musician, as a classical pianist. I never had a chance to be exposed to musicians of the jazz style. So what's interesting right now is that I have colleagues who are classical concert pianists and colleagues here who are professors of classical music. But we are very interested in taking jazz lessons. And actually, we have a very excellent jazz pianist who is of Hungarian origin. He is Hungarian and classically trained from the Budapest Conservatory, and is a professional jazz pianist here in our area, in the San Francisco area. And we are very interested in taking jazz lessons from him, because what we want to explore is that in classical music, you play what the notes are that the composers wrote. But in jazz, there is this freedom. And we want to explore that kind of a freedom of performance, of not deifying the score, the musical score, as the definite word of God, but it's just a what you would call a template for the expression of the human emotion.
You know, that's exactly what it is. Of course, if you're playing Beethoven, you're a reproducing machine. You have some leeway on how you play Beethoven, but you can't change the rhythms, you can't change the notes, and you need to find what Beethoven's trying to say. Whereas jazz and rock and roll, any of these African-derived musics, are conversational musics. They exist in the moment, and your improvising is you're conversing either by yourself or with one another. It's an entirely different musical process. It's an entirely different way of thinking. And for me, it's utterly liberating not to have to worry about a wrong note, because you know what? There are no wrong notes. As Thelonious Monk once said, there are better wrong notes, but there are no wrong notes. And that's really liberating, not to have to worry about certain kinds of things while you play.
I tell my students that all of these great composers, mention it, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Liszt, Chopin, they were all in a sense jazzers. In what sense? I don't think that Bach would play the same piece of music exactly the same way. I don't think Mozart would. I don't think Liszt would. They would improvise on things of their own compositions themselves. And that, in a sense, is the spirit of jazz.
Recordings have changed everything. Recordings have forced us to always be urtext. We have to play what's on the page because someone else is going to listen to it. And if we don't play what's on the page, we've gone beyond the expectations. There was tremendous freedom in performance before the advent of recordings. But now people want to hear in the audience what they heard on a record or a CD. And it's unfortunate because a lot of freedom and flexibility has been taken away from musicians. And the beauty of jazz is you don't have to worry about that. You have to be competent, you have to know your stuff, you have to have technique. But if you have those things, it's very freeing.
Okay, so I'd like quickly for us to take a look at this music video by Simone, The Most Wonderful Time, which I imagine is about Christmas. Let's take a look at that, please.
Something like a miracle. The world is celebrating. All our troubles fading, and now all the rooms aglow. Lights are shining in the snow. We hear the sleigh bells ringing. Everybody's singing. Ooh, most wonderful time of year. Magic you feel here in the air as we all sing together here and now and forever. Though we are all different, we all sing with one voice. It's the only time of year when every song that you now hear seems to say Merry Christmas. May your dreams come true. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has not yet begun. Together we can change the story. Right here in the glory. All we need is love and a guidance up above. Season, hope gives us a reason. Ooh, most wonderful time of year. Ooh, the magic you feel here in the air as we all sing together here and now and forever. Though we are all different, we all sing with one voice. It's that only time of year when every song that you now hear seems to say Merry Christmas and may your dreams come true as we all and may your dreams come true.
Wonderful. So, Simone, I hope you're going to invite me to your next party. That looks awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We
So,
were at a friend's house and everybody came together. Very, very nice.
so tell us now, because John, he worked on you. This is your upcoming album. It's a Christmas album. And tell us about how you decided to make this album and working with John.
I was I'm working with John for many many years. We started to work together. My first ever record, Moonlight Serenade, that was I think just released in Japan when I was 20 years old. We recorded together at the Avatar Studio in New York. That was the time we first met, and since then we always continued to record, to play live in Asia, wherever, in the United States. And he's one of the most talented pianists and musicians I know, and arrangers. And I'm very honored to play with him, to sing with him, and still can do this. And I'm so happy that he's here with us tonight.
And John, this Christmas album, what does this mean to you?
It was a lot of fun. It's actually the first one that we had to do, because of the current pandemic. We had to do this remotely. And so where I recorded tracks here with a great band. Boris Kozlov played bass, and Aaron Hike is a wonderful woodwind player. And we had to work like not bi-coastal. We had to work across continents. And but the end result is, using the technology, it's like we're all together, and we have such a long history of working together. We first met through producer Todd Bark, and like I said, some years ago, Simone was only 20 years old. In fact, her brother played drums in that first recording. How old was Philippe? He was only like 17?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
I know. So.
He was 17. He's 3 years younger than I am, yeah.
So, Simone, why make an album of Christmas songs? I mean, when I think about Christmas songs, I'm tempted to think, oh, it's lesser quality music, or I don't know why exactly. What did you just wake up one day and say, okay, I want to do a Christmas album?
I have to say that every year, every Christmas time, every year I had the feeling, oh my God, why I don't have a Christmas album? I love to sing. I love to sing the Christmas songs. And my whole family is a lot into the whole Christmas season, celebrating and coming together. This is something really, really big for us, for our family. I just can say for us, but I hope for everybody else too. And I was one day I woke up and thought, at the lockdown, I thought, let's do this now. This is the time to do it now. Then John, we spoke, and John said, hey, let's do it. I can do it. I can do it here in New York, and you don't have to come over. So that was the time that we said, okay, let's do it. And I recorded some demos. I picked the songs together with John, and we're thinking about it. And now we put something together that has also the national songs like Stille Nacht, Silent Night. We have Leise rieselt der Schnee. We have something that is really not just American songbook on Christmas songs, but also the songs that come from my homeland, Austria. And that was very important for me to combine these two things. And I think this is something really special with folk musicians playing the Dulcimer, for example, or the Steirische Harmonika. This is something I haven't heard before, and I'm very looking forward what everybody will say, and if you will like it.
So, John, tell us again about did you help Simone to make the selection?
I did suggest some songs, like one of my personal favorites is, from Vince Guaraldi, Christmas Time Is Here, Charlie Brown Christmas. But I think Simone picked most of the songs, and it was just a matter of, finding the keys, the tempos, and the treatments. And then I could do my creative thing and send her the tracks. And it's been great. This is one of the ways I've been adapting to this situation. I've been doing projects with singers in Asia, Europe, and because we can't travel and be in the same room right now.
And is this kind of music, this Christmas music, like I was saying before, you're an accomplished jazz pianist. Is it often people say, okay, we want you to do Christmas music? How do you feel about that repertoire?
Well, you sort of I've been revisiting these songs like my whole life. I can think of 3 other Christmas records. I have one with this Australian artist Nicky Perrott, and I have one with this R&B artist. His name is Joe Thomas, and I think there's another one floating around. But Christmas records, she has some. There's some new songs on there, like that beautiful grown-up Christmas list that I think David Foster wrote. But yeah, I guess it's an old concept that renews itself every year.
Bob, you were chuckling a little bit before. What are you planning on releasing a new album?
No, I was chuckling because there's some fabulous Christmas albums out there, and I don't think the music is lesser at all, to tell you the truth. I mean, John just mentioned the Vince Guaraldi, which is almost all originals on the Charlie Brown Christmas. Dave McKenna, who was a Boston-based pianist, who's one of my absolute favorites, put out a Christmas album that is so freaking fantastic. I don't even know where to start. He makes everything swing so naturally. So this music we know, so it's fun to hear it done in a way that we don't expect to hear it. But I had a question, John. I would direct it towards you at first. Her diction is fantastic. I mean, she sounds like a native English speaker when she sings. Mm-hmm. Did she sound that way at 19, John, or is this something she's grown into, or has she always been a master of singing in English?
Well, I think. Any serious student of jazz, it's not that English is any kind of superior language, but it comes from the United States, so you have to learn the language. Like if I was, like Austrians have their own dialect. If you're going to sing an Austrian folk song, you're going to have to sing it in either Viennese dialect or whatever. So it would be the same. It would be the same thing for us. So sometimes that's an issue. With I'm sure you've run into it. I run into that with singers that are not native English speakers, but they really have to get a grasp of it, get a grasp of the vernacular, the flavor, Right. In a sense, music is a language, as you know.
Just wondering, if you're an opera singer and you're an American, you have to be able to sing in German, you have to be able to sing in Italian, and you have to be able to sing idiomatically. And they spend years and years of that working. So I'll be curious, given the love of American jazz in her house and listening to Ella Fitzgerald and Ray Charles and so forth, did they speak English in her house, for example? Was it a bilingual household? It'd be really interesting to hear.
My observation is folks from Germanic countries and even Scandinavian countries tend to be really good. It's funny, and in Asia, it's weird. Like I find Japanese singers seem to be the most challenged. I don't know why. You'd think they'd have the most gift for it. I recently was teaching in the Netherlands, and there were a ton of students from Korea, and I didn't realize they were from Korea at first. And all their diction of English was perfect. Mm. I was amazed. I said, I assumed they were from Japan. I realized they were from Korea. So I don't know why certain areas. And then of course, in the Philippines, not only do the musicians speak English so well, but their feel for American music is it seems to be at the highest level. It's like if you close your eyes, you listen to a singer, you think it's somebody who grew up on 125th Street in Harlem, and you wouldn't know it's somebody from the Philippines. It's interesting how certain cultures mesh into the. But
well, Lino could speak to that, but in Korea they take English from the youngest age. I mean, it's just a given. You're going to be fluent in English by the time you're 15 years old. Lino, was that the same with you?
Yes, actually, we start learning English in the Philippines at in grade one, but we don't speak English at home actually, and we even all my life we didn't speak English at home. We speak English in school and in university settings and business settings, but not at home. One thing that I would add, though, growing up in the Philippines, is that the Philippines is still, in effect, a colony of the United States. We look forward, we look up to the ideals of America, and everything American is a lot better. If I could just tell, every time I go to the Philippines and visit my relatives there, they would say, "Could you please get Nescafe and all of this Coffee Mate?" And I said, "Can't you get that there in the Philippines? We can get it there." "Oh, yes, we can get it there, but you know what? The ones that come from the United States is better."
I'd like to go to John to ask you, John, if you might be willing to give us a few examples, play us a little bit of Christmas music the way that's traditional, and maybe then show us how you play it differently as a jazz pianist.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. Well, there's just a general jazz aesthetic. I'm at the core, I'm a jazz musician, even though I deal with a lot of other music and I love all sorts of music. I mean, this year I put out a CD of Billy Strayhorn, all Billy Strayhorn music, but also I'm releasing soon a CD that I did with Janice Siegel and a cantor named Daniel Kramer, and it's all Yiddish music, but done in a creative jazz and Latin style. It's not klezmer music. I think.
So how about White Christmas? How about we do a little bit, you play some of the normal chords, how it normally sounds, and then a little bit of the John DiMartino version.
Well, the way I like to approach in general is very organically. I like to have an intimate understanding of what the basic tune is, what the composer intended, and then I sort of react to what kind of vibe I get from the singer. And then I like to arrange in what I think is a very organic way. I don't necessarily try to strong arm things and turn them on their head. I like to find, to me, arranging is like, it's like tailoring in a way. It's like finding a dress that just accentuates the beauty of the person that's there, and not trying to mutate it so much. So I kind of come from a place of subtraction rather than addition. I'm always saying, what's the least I can do, and then I look for the spaces and I add. Whereas I think some people approach it the kitchen sink. How many things can I throw in, and then they sort of edit and take things out. And I sort of work the other way, and I try to see where the space is and how that space speaks to me and what needs to be filled. I try to start from a very sparse place.
Would you be able to show us a little bit of that by playing? How do you start then with the most, and then you take it away?
I'm just speaking in general, like my approach to arranging. The first thing I think about is, what's the basic groove where we're feeling the song. Like she did this song like in a swing feel, and kind of a two beat swing feel, and we just took it from there. But I don't know if I can give you like an exact musical example.
John, maybe you would be able to. Could you play us just a little bit of White Christmas?
Sure.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you. I have this keyboard stuck on one sound. This is actually my MIDI keyboard that I notate with Sibelius, and I do MIDI. I guess I could open up my MIDI, but I'm stuck on this one piano sound, but it's not so bad. Thank you.
Not so bad at all. I would just, by the way, back to Christmas songs.
Sure.
You know, excuse me, this song was written, I believe it was in 1940, for a movie called Going My Way with Bing Crosby by a Jewish immigrant from the Russian Empire named Israel Belinsky, who we know as Irving Berlin. And there you have it, you know, Christmas music, that music, the talent that's invested in creating all of these different kinds of music, especially American popular song, is extraordinary. And this has become part of the canon, this song. It's the American Silent Night, but it's a great tune with great harmonic possibilities. Yeah. And John, that was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. I know it's interesting. I once was playing a Jewish themed concert, and the conductor, they had an arrangement this prepared, and he said, "Well, we don't have a Hanukkah song, but we have a Christmas song written by a Jewish composer," which probably most of the Christmas songs are, because most of the Great American Songbook, most of the writers were Jewish, you know, with, you know, the little exceptions of Cole Porter and Harry Warren, but they're sort of the exceptions.
Right. Richard Rodgers and Jerome Kern and George Gershwin, and, you know, Oscar Hammerstein Jr. Right. Even the Gum brothers, who went by the name of Von Tilzer, the younger Gum brother wrote "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" without ever having gone to a baseball game in 1907. And Judy Garland is a Gum. She comes from that same family. So it's, you listen, the entertainment business was one of the few businesses available to Jews and Italians and the Irish at the turn of the 20th century. And so, of course, you had this amazing concentration of these folks in the entertainment business. But it is fascinating, especially American popular song. These songs that we think just have always existed were written by somebody, very often people who just were newly off the boat. And I find that kind of amazing.
I was just going to say that Silent Night is originally, actually, I as a kid, I was told it's a German, I mean, it's originally a German language, but I think Simone was saying it actually has an Austrian origin, but, you know, it's world famous.
So
right.
From Christmas, let's go to Simone's latest album, My Wonderland. Let's take a look at this video, please.
No, I would not change a thing, not a single thing. I've been with you is so damn good, making me feel like I think every woman should. I made up solid love for you. I love steady and true, touching souls is what we are, and I knew it from the very start. We shine just like the sun breaking through a milky haze on summer days, a feeling it will never end. My wonderland, you know you love me oh so well. I love like yours, no words can tell. My life's a pot of gold at the rainbow's end. It's like always walking hand in hand. La ba do dee dee do ba, la da do dee dee do da, la da 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 dee dee do dee, ba ba do ba, ba 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 ba, wah 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 wah, la da do dee, la da do dee, la da do dee, do da do dee, do da just like the sun breaking through a milky haze of summer days, feeling it will never end. My wonderland, you know you love me oh so well. A love like yours, no words can tell. My life's a pot of gold at the rainbow's end. It's like always walking hand in hand.
Lovely. So, John, did you work also on that album?
No, actually, I didn't. I think that's a all band from Europe. Simone and I have, I don't know, we have about 10 records together, mostly on a Japanese label called Venus, but also on there's a Thai label that we dealt with. It's called Hitman Jazz. And it's interesting, in the past several years, most of our gigs together have been in Thailand because of that. So we wind up meeting in Thailand. Hopefully we'll do that again soon. But we did a tour in Israel. We've played in Austria together.
So, Bob, I wanted to ask you quick about this style with My Wonderland. Everything that we've heard so far from Simone, it's a major key. Is it considered more pop music, or would it doesn't seem to be bebop so much?
Well, no, it's not bebop. I don't know of any bebop singers, to tell you the truth. That's a kind of bossa nova feel in that piece, a little Brazilian lilt to it. But I'm so loath to categorize stuff too much, because it creates boxes instead of, creating bridges. I think depending on the expressive message Simone has as a writer, as a composer, depending upon the meaning of the words and what you want to sell, she'll come up. And this was a question I would ask her. Maybe John can answer this for us. Does she write the music first? Does she write her words first? I assume that was an original. I assume she's writing the words first and then finding music that gives greatest life and meaning. John, do you have any insight on that?
I'm not sure. I have recorded some of her original music, and she does have she plays the piano, and she has a full knowledge of music. So she might conceive of the whole thing together. Maybe I have a feeling it comes to her together, like music and lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
I've never asked her that. Yeah, she's presented me with different tunes, but I've never asked that question. I'd be curious to find that out myself.
Certainly, to the degree that you asked, Simeon, there's not a lot of deep angst here. I mean, there's no Weltschmerz. She grew up in a happy family, for goodness sake, in central Austria, where her parents played all this wonderful music, and her brother played drums for her on her album. And I mean, this is all fantastic. And she looks young enough not to have suffered too much. So I don't think we should expect a Billie Holiday-like torch singer here. We should expect someone who has a very bright experience and who's trying to capture her love and her joy in life. God bless her. May it continue forever. Age has a way of inserting minor keys in our outlook, minor ninth chords and such. But so far she's writing what she hears. I think it's wonderful.
I could tell you, ironically, I had been to her hometown before I met her. Another great musician comes from her hometown, a great saxophonist named Carolina Strassmeyer, who's the first woman playing with the VDR band in Cologne. And they're from the same town, Bad Ossi it's called, and it's a really Hansel and Gretel town. I mean, well, for us from the States, we expect to see Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews just, start singing and burst into the sound of music. By the way, they don't know the sound of music in Austria, and they have no interest in it because it brings up a kind of dark past. So it's not a popular thing there, but it's an amazing place. And I remember staying in this beautiful guest house, and all the women are wearing dirndls, and you just feel like you're in a fairy tale, Austrian fairy tale. So, and I had met her brother, like he came and sat in with this quartet I was playing with. And so when I met her, she reminded me about that. So it's just kind of ironic. It was kind of foreshadowing that I would meet her some years later.
Good. And so I wanted to quickly ask Lino, Dr. Rivera, if he might be able to talk to us about this aspect of the music video. We see that's very important in Simone's work.
Yes. With regards to that, what I'm fascinated about is how they put the music and the visuals together. And I think it's a lot of tech savviness that needs to get into the production of the video, because we're not only hearing the music, we're seeing people acting and splicing it together and editing it in order for it to make sense with the music, and all this filming and the lighting and the choreography of it all. That's fascinating to me, because that's a lot of editing and knowledge that goes into that.
Excellent. So I would like to now ask quickly, John, I just wanted to ask you, so what is it that, are you planning any future albums with Simone? Or what's your work schedule like now? And tell us a little bit about your work.
Sure. Like I said, I've been adapting by doing a lot of recording. Studios are open, and I've been dealing, like I said, with people in Europe and Asia, because I can make tracks here and I can send them, to their locale, and they can do overdub their voice or whatever there. And then they even have the option of doing like mix and mastering in New York if they prefer. There's actually another record in the can in Simone's family. This one worked out so well that her husband, who's playing drums on all of these, Reinhardt, we actually made a remote quartet record. I recorded here, great saxophonist Harry Allen and Boris Kozlov playing bass, and we sent the tracks over. And so he'll be releasing that at some point. So we have this like long distance sort of creative ping pong going on. More projects like that. And like I said, I have this Yiddish project that'll be coming out hopefully by December, in time for Hanukkah. It's called Mazel, and it's a collaboration with great Janice Siegel from Manhattan Transfer and cantor Daniel Kramer. And it has an amazing band on it: Eric Alexander, Jerry Weldon, great jazz violinist Sarah Caswell, David Fink, Boris Kozlov, a lot of great people. And I'm planning to do a solo record, which has been a big procrastination for me. So I'm going to start working on that.
Good. Would you be willing to play us a little bit of something that you might record for that record?
Sure.
Wow.
Thank you.
I forgot to mention, I also will be coming out soon. I did a duo record with saxophonist Harry Allen. And again, this is a lockdown thing. It's basically all MIDI that I created here. So it's kind of like a saxophone and orchestral. But I made the orchestral template here with my home MIDI studio, actually with this keyboard and a whole lot of electronics. And that'll be coming out actually on Venus Records. I'm not sure exactly when, but I could always send you some little advanced tracks of that, you know.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm wondering if we can, John, if we can take a look at how to stay in touch with you and with Simone.
Go to my website, johndimartino.com. Yeah, join my mailing list and say hi.
Perfect. We can take a look at, there it is right there, johndimartino.com. Perfect. And is there anything in particular we should take a look at for your upcoming concerts, your upcoming...
Something else coming up November 7th. It'll be live cast. I'm playing at this club. It's called Maureen's. So you can look for that for November 7th. I think that's 8 p.m. But it'll also be cast on Facebook. We have time for a quick song? You want to try to do a quick song?
Let's try a few bars. Perhaps it's holding. Yeah. Leise rieselt der Schnee, still und starr ruht der See. Weihnachtlich glänzet der Ball. Freue dich, das Christkind kommt bald. Bald ist heilige Nacht, wo der Engel erwacht. Hört nur, wie lieblich es schallt. Freue dich, das Christkind kommt bald.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So tell us about that song.
That was a song, a folk song from Austria, and it's one of my favorites, a song that I sing every year, and the Christmas it's on the new record.
Okay, and so let's take a look at how we can stay in touch with Simone and where we can get this new record. SimoneKopmajer.com, and there we have Christmas album out soon. So Simone, then we can order it directly there. And there's
you can order it there, or you can order it on Hornsel in Austria or Amazon worldwide, in Japan on HMV. Yeah, everywhere.
Lovely. And I understand that people, if they order a CD, they can also order one signed by you. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I sign them, all the LPs, the CDs, and they come with an autographed card. So that's what I do.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And there's all of Simone's contact information. So Simone, one last question. So what does the future look like to you? What should we expect?
The future, if it holds, you never know now. But we have a lot of concerts coming up in Austria now. We're going to present the new CD. We're going to play in Vienna 4 shows. We're going to play in Graz and yeah, all over Austria. And we're going to be in a lot of TV shows, and I hope that people will like the new record, and I hope that I can come to the United States, to Asia, to wherever, to visit the whole world and present it in the future when everything.
Fantastic. And then one last question, Simone. So Dr. Bob and I and everyone else, we were talking about how good it feels to listen to your music, how happy it is. Do you write sad music, or is it how is it because of it's like you're having a family party when you do music that it's so happy? Or tell us about that aspect.
I love happy music. I love music that is brings energy, brings good feelings. But I of course also write some sad songs, and I do I do it together with a lyricist, Caroline Türk from Austria, where she's an English teacher, professor for English, and she writes the music with me.
So I want to say, first of all, thank you to Simone.
Thank you very much for everything. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Simone. Thank you so much, John. So let's take a look at next week. We have on Wednesday, November 4th, Zofo piano duet, Beethoven's symphonies for piano. The Zofo duet, two pianists who play on one piano to form a, quote, 20-finger orchestra, confront a unique set of challenges that most musicians, let alone laymen, will probably ever consider. Take, for example, how to comfortably sit two adults on a single piano bench. Eva Maria and Keisuke are highly accomplished professional pianists in their own right. Why have they dedicated 10 years and counting to playing piano for hands? Once you hear their awesome artistic product, you will understand. Most of the classical music we cherish was conceived of by way of the piano. Beethoven symphonies are no exception, and Zofo will show us how they put together their most recent performance of classical music that most of us only know in the orchestra versions. Oh, and they will also show us what music today's composers are writing, especially for them. Come welcome Eva Maria and Keisuke, and get ready to experience a piano as you have never heard it before. So that's next Wednesday, Zofo piano duet, Beethoven symphonies for piano. So I believe we have now a special guest. Juan Carlos is back. Hi.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm here drinking my coffee, as usual. And this time I'm in Manizales. I'm not at the coffee farm. I'm in Manizales, which is 2,200 meters high altitude on the sea level. But I think we have a video, right?
So after the coffee has been sun-dried for at least a week, we have to take this parchment off. So it is going to be, you're going to see that this coffee is going to be like this color, and these beans are going to be roasted after. These beans are going to be ready for roasting after taking this parchment off. After the parchment is off, so we bring this coffee to a roaster, and the roasting process is not very heavy because we want it to be mild, so that all the properties of the coffee are in there. When the coffee is too roasted, too heavy, too dark, it produces more cups of coffee, but the taste is less good. So we want the coffee like to be a milk chocolate color.
Carlos, so milk chocolate color coffee.
Yeah, well, the secret, it is not only in the harvesting, in the getting the beans, but also selecting, choosing a good roasting process, which means not too dark, because it just kills everything and it just produces more cups of coffee. So if you want to have a good cup of coffee, the roasting should be mild. But every coffee is different, so you have to go and find out with your roaster, or if you have a roasting system, well, you do it yourself. But you have to find out what is the best for your coffee, your own coffee.
Carlos, I understand that we are actually tonight able to offer this coffee to our participants. Is that right?
Exactly. So you can, I think you can pre-order, right? You can pre-order the coffee packaging on your site, if I believe.
Look at that. And the story. Please support UR Music and Arts mission to provide high quality programming that is free and accessible to everyone during this challenging global health crisis. To pay for our mission's expenses, rather than asking for handouts, we are introducing a novel business model. We are selling organic, fair trade Colombian coffee of a quality that many of us might never have the opportunity to taste. What's more, this coffee is an integral part of our programming. It is grown on the Echeverry family's Colombian coffee farm. The Echeverry brothers, Juan Carlos and Oscar, are frequent guests on our shows, and their father has worked his whole career as an academic researching coffee science. Because they believe in what we are doing, the Echeverry family endeavored to use their treasured coffee to support UR Music and Arts. Please consider offering your financial support by enjoying UR Music and Arts signature coffee, Il Tenore. We will ship your order to wherever you find yourself in the world. Thank you and see you on Wednesday. So there we have it. On the website, urmusicandarts.com, you are able to pre-order coffee. And so we hope very much that you'll consider pre-ordering some of this coffee. And when should we have it available, Juan Carlos?
I think from the around 15th of November, the coffee will be already in Europe.
Okay, so about in 2 weeks, and we will also have that ready for our US participants, our Japanese participants. Wherever you are, we will get you this coffee. So please do consider pre-ordering. Wonderful. Juan Carlos, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Wonderful. So thank you, first of all, again to Simone and John, to Dr. Bob, Professor Lino Rivera, Professor Niels Moos, to our superhero production team, and of course, most of all to you, our participants. From Vienna, Austria, New York City, the Bay Area, California, and the Echeverry family coffee farm near the city of Pereira, Colombia. Goodbye, and see you next week.